There comes a moment in your life when everything becomes quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet. The noise fades, the people slowly disappear, and suddenly you find yourself alone in ways you never expected. At first, it feels heavy, almost suffocating. You question everything. Why me? Why does it feel like I'm always the one left behind? You start believing that maybe something is wrong with you, that maybe you were not meant to belong anywhere. But what if this isn't rejection? What if this is selection? What if the loneliness you feel is not a punishment, but a preparation? Because not everyone is meant to walk the path you are on. Not everyone is built to understand your depth, your thoughts, your silence. And that's not your weakness, that's your uniqueness. You were not created to fit into every room, you were created to outgrow them. And sometimes growth looks like distance, sometimes becoming looks like losing. This phase where you feel alone, this is where something inside you is quietly shifting. You're being pulled away from noise so you can finally hear yourself. So instead of asking, why am I alone, start asking, what is this solitude trying to teach me? Because maybe, just maybe, you were never meant to be surrounded. You were meant to be awakened. Loneliness is often misunderstood. We think it means being unwanted, unloved, or forgotten. But real loneliness is not about the absence of people, it's about the absence of connection. And sometimes, you can be surrounded by 100 people and still feel completely alone inside. The truth is, your soul has started rejecting shallow connections. The conversations that once felt normal now feel empty. The people you used to laugh with no longer understand your silence. And slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to detach. Not because you hate people, but because you're evolving. You're no longer satisfied with surface-level energy. You crave depth, meaning, realness. And that kind of connection is rare. So rare that it often requires you to spend time alone before you find it. This is where most people get it wrong, they try to escape loneliness instead of understanding it. They fill their lives with noise, distractions, and temporary people just to avoid facing themselves. But you are different. You are being guided into solitude so you can build a connection with the one person who will always be with you, yourself. Because once you stop running from yourself, everything changes. The silence no longer feels empty, it starts to feel powerful. And in that silence, you don't feel lonely anymore, you feel whole. There comes a point in solitude where something unusual begins to happen, you start meeting yourself. Not the version the world created, not the one shaped by expectations, fear, or approval, but the real you. The one you've been avoiding for so long. At first, it feels uncomfortable. Sitting with your own thoughts, facing your own emotions, hearing the voice inside you without distractions, it's not easy. You begin to notice things about yourself that you once ignored, your fears, your patterns, the way you've been hurting yourself just to keep others happy. And for a moment, it feels overwhelming. You may even want to escape it. But this is where the real transformation begins. Because healing doesn't start when everything feels good, it starts when you finally become honest with yourself. In this silence, you begin to understand your own heart. You realize that you've been seeking validation from people who were never capable of giving it. You see how much of yourself you've sacrificed just to feel accepted. And slowly, something shifts. You stop blaming the world, and start reclaiming yourself. You begin to choose peace over approval, truth over comfort, and self-respect over temporary connection. This is the moment where loneliness starts turning into self-awareness. Where silence becomes clarity. And where being alone no longer feels like a burden, it starts feeling like a return. A return to who you were before the world told you who to be. There was someone who always tried to hold on. To friendships, to people, to places, even when it hurt. They feared being alone more than anything else. But life has a way of teaching the hardest lessons quietly. One by one, people they relied on drifted away. At first, it felt like betrayal, like life had turned against them. Nights were long, thoughts were heavy, and their heart ached with longing. But slowly, a strange thing happened. In the absence of others, they started noticing themselves. The things they loved, the dreams they forgot, the voice they silenced just to keep everyone else happy. In that solitude, they discovered freedom. Freedom from expectation, freedom from pretending, freedom from constant approval. And for the first time, they realized that losing people didn't make them weak, it made them whole. They understood that some connections are not meant to stay forever, some are meant to leave, so you can return to yourself. And in that return, they found a peace deeper than any companionship ever offered. What if this time alone is not empty, but powerful? What if, in this silence, you are becoming stronger in ways no one can see? When you stop depending on others for validation, something shifts inside you. You begin to trust your own voice. Your decisions feel clearer, your emotions feel lighter. You no longer need constant attention to feel worthy, because you start realizing that your worth was never meant to be measured by others. This is where your real power begins, in the moments no one is watching, in the growth no one is applauding. Being alone teaches you independence, emotional strength, and a kind of peace that cannot be taken away. And once you feel that, you stop fearing loneliness. You start valuing it. Because now you understand, you were never alone, you were just being prepared. There comes a moment when you stop chasing noise, and start choosing peace. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because you've finally understood what truly matters. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't argue like before, you don't react like before. The things that once disturbed you, no longer have the same power over you. And it's not because you don't care, it's because you've learned where your energy deserves to go. You begin to protect your time, your emotions, your space. You become more selective, more aware, more intentional. And yes, this might make your world smaller, but it also makes it calmer. Because peace was never found in too many people, it was found within you. Now, you don't fear being alone, you fear losing your inner calm. You choose silence over unnecessary noise, distance over draining connections, and self-respect over temporary comfort. And in doing so, you realize something beautiful, you are no longer trying to survive your life. You are finally learning how to live it, on your own terms. Being alone changes the way you see everything. The world doesn't feel smaller, you just start noticing what really matters. People may come and go, but the lessons they leave behind stay. You realize that approval was never the goal, connection was never the requirement, growth was. And growth often asks you to step away, to slow down, to observe yourself without distraction. You begin to see that loneliness is not emptiness, but clarity. It's the space where you can untangle your mind, listen to your heart, and finally make decisions that feel right for you. You start valuing moments over people, quality over quantity, and truth over comfort. And slowly, everything that once seemed like loss starts to feel like alignment. Because when you stop trying to fit into everyone else's world, you start fitting into your own. There was someone who always tried to hold on. To friendships, to people, to places, even when it hurt. They feared being alone more than anything else. But life has a way of teaching the hardest lessons quietly. One by one, people they relied on drifted away. At first, it felt like betrayal, like life had turned against them. Nights were long, thoughts were heavy, and their heart ached with longing. But slowly, a strange thing happened. In the absence of others, they started noticing themselves. The things they loved, the dreams they forgot, the voice they silenced just to keep everyone else happy. In that solitude, they discovered freedom. Freedom from expectation, freedom from pretending, freedom from constant approval. And for the first time, they realized that losing people didn't make them weak, it made them whole. They understood that some connections are not meant to stay forever, some are meant to leave, so you can return to yourself. And in that return, they found a peace deeper than any companionship ever offered. As you walk this path alone, you start realizing that solitude isn't a punishment, it's a privilege. The world may try to make you feel small, abandoned, or misunderstood, but that is only a reflection of what it cannot offer you. You are learning to move at your own pace, to trust your own instincts, and to honor your own rhythm. Every choice you make, every step you take, begins to feel like it belongs to you, not anyone else. And slowly, the fear of being alone fades. You understand that being alone does not mean being lonely, it means being with yourself fully. It means prioritizing your growth, your peace, your clarity. It means walking a path that only you can walk, and trusting that everything you need will meet you there. Solitude, once frightening, now feels like your ally, your teacher, and your sanctuary. Now, after all the silence, all the solitude, all the moments that felt heavy, you awaken. You awaken to the truth that walking alone was never a punishment, it was a gift. You see how much you've grown, how much strength you never noticed in yourself, how clarity replaces confusion, and peace replaces fear. You realize that being alone allowed you to finally meet yourself fully, to love yourself fully, without compromise or expectation. And with that love comes freedom. Freedom from needing others to validate your worth, freedom from chasing approval, freedom from fearing the unknown. You understand that your journey is yours alone, and that is exactly how it was meant to be. Being chosen to walk alone does not mean being lonely, it means being prepared. Prepared to shine in ways the world will never dim. Prepared to stand tall, unshaken by absence or noise. Prepared to live fully, beautifully, and entirely as yourself. So embrace your solitude. Cherish your silence. And remember, you were never alone. You were always being guided to the life you were meant to live.